Late at night, a girl is soliciting on a bus. After she's done, she expects to be paid. Instead, she was met with a slap in the face. The scene was witnessed by a well-dressed man. His heart was in anguish at the sight. Tears welled up in his eyes. In the end, he chose to remain indifferent. When the bus came to a stop, the man got off, but the woman followed him and intentionally walked in front of him. Apparently the woman wanted to do business again. He didn't want to get involved with the girl, so he tried to leave. But the girl saw his shyness. She began to pester him. This made the man very unhappy. He thought the girl was too young, and he thought it was unethical. So he just left. The girl cursed loudly behind her, but the man didn't care. The next day the man met the same girl again, but this time the girl didn't seduce him. Instead, she asked him to borrow 100 yuan. She hadn't eaten for 2 days, although the man felt a bit sorry for his indifference on the bus last time. But he didn't lend the girl the money. Instead, he took her home. When they got home, the man brings the girl a sandwich. Then he sits down and waits for the girl's reaction. But then he suddenly puts his hand on the girl. The girl stopped the man. He had to pay for it. It turned out that the man was not trying to get a free ride. He saw the girl's inner thighs were injured and red palm print on her face. The man asked if she was in trouble, but the girl said, "None of your business." The girl sighed. She'd never met such a slow customer before. She even offered to give him a discount. The man didn't say anything. He just asked her to wait for him in the bathroom. The girl thought she could start working now. Instead, the man used alcohol to clean his wounds. This surprised the girl. No one had ever been so kind to her before. The man handed her a towel and told her to take a shower. Then he made his own bed. He gave the bed to the girl. The girl finally realized that the man in front of her really cared about her. He wasn't just a businessman, as she thought. The man's name was Henry. He was a teacher. He lives in a lonely city. The next day he came alone to the rooftop for breakfast. He went to work quietly, so as not to wake the girl. He never stayed in one school too long. This time, the school he taught at was very poor. Sure enough, he almost got beaten up on his first day of class. He walked into the classroom and introduced himself, saying he had only one request. "If you don't want to listen, you can leave right now." And immediately someone down there started a fight. He invited Curly out of the classroom. He asked everyone to write an essay, and then there was another one. Henry ignored him this time, but Jack suddenly gets up and walks up to him with a fierce look on his face. Henry told Jack in a remarkably calm voice, "I know you're angry, but that purse doesn't have feelings and it doesn't hurt." This time Henry didn't chase Jack away. He tore up a piece of paper and gave it to him. After class, the fat girl asked Henry why you kicked out Curly but kept Jack. Henry replied that Curly had insulted him. "I can do whatever I want in my class. I'm used to it, but it's not okay to insult other students." I don't know if the girl understood what that meant. Henry came home after work. In the corridor he hears voices in the house. He pushes the door and finds the girl Erica doing business in his house. Henry is furious. He angrily asks Erica's customer to pay cash and kicks him out. But Henry didn't blame Erica. He told her to change the sheets. He suggested she take an HIV test. At night Henry slept on the floor again. Erica slept in the bed. She had never been treated so well. She was touched by Henry's kindness. She began to want to know his story. She asked Henry why he cried on the bus, but Henry didn't answer. He had a sad look on his face. It was as if he had a pain in his heart that no one could understand. One day Henry got a call from the hospital. He learned that Grandpa had been locked in the bathroom and was not cooperating with the treatment. He arrived at the hospital in the middle of the night and heard him calling out his daughter's name. Henry asked him to open the door. It turns out Henry lost his parents when he was very young. Grandpa had serious mental problems. Coming home on this day, Henry was in tears as he recalled his memories of his mother. The day Henry met Erica brought back memories of his lonely childhood. He chose to become a teacher. He wanted to help every student on the right path, although he was only a substitute teacher. But his unique way of teaching gradually won the hearts of his students, especially the fat girl. She was filled with unspeakable affection and admiration for Henry. Of course, Henry was also very popular with the female teachers. He was close to an English teacher. Henry didn't come home until late that night. Erica was a little upset and asked Henry where he'd been. It turned out that Erica had prepared a candle-lit dinner for him. She waited for hours, but the food was already cold. Henry saw the dinner on the table. He felt that Erica was trying to repay him. But when a girl is nice to you, she must have a crush on you. And the next morning, Erica prepared breakfast for him again, and stomped around in front of him. At the end of the week they went to the hospital for a checkup. They did a lot of shopping together after they got out of the hospital. They bought each other presents. Henry bought a book, and Erica bought a ring. In the days of loneliness, these two lonely souls were saved by a kindness. But the good times didn't last. Grandpa soon had another problem. When Henry came to visit him in the hospital, he mistook Erica for his daughter. He kept asking her to forgive him. Erica sometimes imitated her mother's tone of voice and forgave her grandfather. Erica asked Henry about his mother's death. Henry told her he hadn't seen his parents or his grandfather since he was a child. On the night of the accident, Mother took a large dose of sleeping pills. She never woke up. Only a tape was left behind. From then on, Grandpa began to have psychotic episodes. Erica asked Henry if he was scared. Henry shook his head and said he was very young and his memories were fuzzy. But his mother had always protected him by locking the door to his room every night. Though he watched in secret, he learned the truth about his mother's long relationship with his grandfather through fragments of memories. Although he couldn't understand it as a child. But as he grew up, Henry came to understand. Eventually, the pressure to leave his mother was too much. Henry is most likely the child of his mother and grandfather. Grandpa could be his father. Henry is suffocated by his origins. He kept his distance from everyone and worked as a substitute teacher. He doesn't stay in one place for too long. He couldn't escape the shadows, but he wanted to be a teacher to help every student get on the right track. It's really his way of escaping from himself. On this day when the students expressed their love, Henry once again chose to run away. A fat girl suddenly approached Henri. She showed him a piece of work she'd created. A faceless Henry. The classroom was empty. It turned out that the fat girl was very fond of painting and photography, but her work was all in black and white. Her parents thought it was a sickness, so they stopped her hobby. No respect at home. At school too, she was bullied and abused by her classmates because of her obesity. She had to hide in the bathroom to eat. Henry seemed to recognize the fat girl's loneliness. He stood up and offered to listen. The fat girl told Henry her story. Her parents didn't understand her hobbies. They didn't even allow her to draw or take pictures. She felt very lonely and helpless. But Henry's listening ear made her feel warm and understood. The fat girl leans on Henry and wishes he could give her a hug right away. Henry, being a teacher, instinctively chooses to push her away. At that moment, the female teacher with whom Henry had an affair happened to be passing through the classroom. She witnessed it. The fat girl rushed out of the classroom in tears. The teacher mistook Henry's intentions for something inappropriate. Henry tried to explain, but the teacher didn't understand. The pressure inside Henry's mind built up to its limit. He exploded. Fearful and disturbed by the school's problems, Henry once again chose to run away. He let the orphanage take Erica away. In the course of Erica's agonizing struggle, the most depressing moment of the film.
No! You're all that I have. Please! Don't let me go! No!
Problems at the school are increasing. Some students even spit in the teachers' faces. In the face of such complex student problems, some teachers choose to remain silent. Some teachers suffer in silence. Some teachers even made poetry out of the students' insults. The black student was in danger of almost killing someone. The teacher had to call his parents, but the parents' problem seemed to be worse than the child's. Though Henry's unique approach to teaching was slowly winning over his classmates, but he couldn't change the fact that the school was about to close. The school's overall performance was poor and the transition rate was low. This had a negative impact on property prices in the neighborhood. The school's investors persuaded the headmaster to resign. The headmaster could no longer support the school. The teachers, who had worked at the school for decades, also felt powerless. Soon the headmaster announced his resignation. The school was about to close. In the classroom, Henry knew he couldn't save the school from closure and told his students this may be their last class. He felt helpless and frustrated, but he still tried to give his students the best education possible. After class, Henry noticed a fat girl who hadn't been in class for a long time. She prepared a lot of cakes as a farewell ceremony for the closure of the school. Henry expressed his love for the black cake. He thought it looked special, but the fat girl told Henry the cake was for herself. She handed Henry a smiley face. Henry realized that he hadn't listened to the fat girl's needs and apologized. The fat girl turned away and ate the black cake. The cake was poisoned. Henry rushed to save her life, hoping to save the fat girl's life. But the fat girl left Henry. Until Henry came along, the fat girl's life had been a constant state of despair. Until she met Henry, she saw him as her best listener. When she was rejected by Henry, her hopes were dashed. It was the last straw that broke her back. Henry came to his senses. If he hadn't pushed the fat girl away, she might have ended up differently. So one sunny afternoon, Henry came alone to visit Erica at the orphanage. When Erica saw Henry, she ran to him and hugged him tightly. And this time Henry didn't choose to push him away. The dilemma facing students and the education system in modern society. Students feel helpless and lost in isolation. They long to be understood and rescued. Teachers are faced with an enormous challenge, struggling to find ways to save these lonely students. Students can be lonely at home, at school, and in society, they long to be cared for and understood, but they are often treated with indifference. This loneliness causes pain and struggle. It also triggers rebellious behavior. Remind us, each of us can, in our own power, contribute to the betterment of others through concern and action. We can all work to improve the situation of others through concern and action.